what a cool, like, they both showed off the thing that they needed to show off, and then they were like, great, got it. It's got to be a striking battle. Like, we
Yeah.
know that that's how this fight's got to go. And I
Yeah.
was like, God damn. It was just one small exchange, and they did that. It was,
Yeah.
ugh.
Yeah. All right, welcome to another episode of Two Fight Fans, where we talk about all things in combat sports. I am your saddened fan, Colin.
And I'm your true fight fan, Stuart. Colin.
I mean, you are definitely okay. The first thing we have to address: this is the first time that we've done picks where I got everything fucking wrong. I didn't get anything, nothing, zero, zip.
This is one of those cards. We're going with the plums. Was the wrong idea. It was the wrong idea. Quick, like, rapid fire question. Is this top 3 fight card of the year so far?
For MMA, UFC, everything, or
all
MMA,
around,
boxing,
all around.
Okay. I would say, yeah, top 3 to 5, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I think, and even that main event, that might be number 1 or 2 best fight of the year. Like, it was a good fight for as long as it lasted. It was a good fight. So let's get into it. Let's talk about it.
All right.
Let's talk about this main event, which I know broke your heart, broke my heart.
Do you want to start? You want to start at the main event? Or do you want to start working our way up?
No, let's start at the main event.
Okay. All right.
How did you score the fight before the 3rd round? How did you score those first 2 rounds?
I had it 1-1. I had Topuria the first round and Holloway the second round.
Makes sense. I had it Max 2-0 going into that 3rd round.
Really?
I thought Max... Did you not think this is one of the best fights Max has fought?
Yes.
In a long time?
I thought it was one of his... Yeah, definitely one of his more strategically and also technical, like some... Not just like... I mean, like, literal technique, what he was doing. Like, when have we seen him throw, like, a front kick up the middle or a side kick to the front leg like that? You know?
Oh, yeah, dude, that front leg roundhouse kick to the head, I saw that instantly. I was like, oh, man. Like we talked about, Ilia Topuria, bad discipline with his backhand. Guard, that's Max either capitalizing on it or creating the pattern that Ilia Topuria can't fire that backhand because he needs to keep it glued to his cheek. Brilliant by Max.
Yeah.
This fight overall was, I thought Max fought it brilliantly, and I thought Ilia showed he can fight just as brilliantly as Max Holloway, which is amazing, but he has the power to beat Max Holloway's chin at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I don't know Actually, I do know. We have definitively never seen that in the featherweight division.
Right.
I mean, it actually, like, got me kind of emotional seeing Max, like, stretched out and, like, getting up and being so heartbroken. But I was like, yo, we're here. We just saw the next, like, generation at featherweight. We talk about it as this division of kings. There's no fluff, there's no circumstance, there's no fluke. Ilia Topuria is that guy. And it was, I thought, maybe fight of the year for me, seeing how they went back and forth over these 3 rounds. I was like, the adjustments they were making, Max coming out in the 3rd round, switching fully to southpaw. He would pump that jab at the beginning of the 1st round. Ilia slipped both of them, and then Max went, fine, I'll just fire a snap kick up the middle right to your body. Fuck you. You can't use head movement to get out of the way of that. Like, it was, what a brilliant fight, and what a like coming out party for Ilia Topuria. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it ended the way that we both predicted / feared, with that
Mm.
big, like, powerful hooking technique, and it did catch Max, in the exact position where we didn't want him, backing up against the cage,
Mhm.
um, and with his hands down, which is something that we both pointed out. Like, this is a very dangerous, bad place, and a bad habit that Max has had before of, like,
Yeah.
fighting with his, like, hands overreaching or kind of down like that. And he paid for it. And like, it was a great fight, like you said, for both of them. I think it showed the best of both. And it was very much it was very bittersweet, like we knew it was going to be. And uh it really, okay, the two big things from this now that I have, like, where do we go from here? Like,
Mhm.
who do you see in the featherweight that is going to be able to rival Ilya now? Like, we see him, he beats, Volkanovski, and decisively, but anyone could say, like, okay, maybe Volkanovski had a off night or whatever,
Mm.
or it was just a bad stylistic matchup. But to do that, like we've been highlighting about on the two most dominant champions in the featherweight division, which is, again, like we talked about, the division of kings, the division with the most competition, you know, is this like who else has done this? Who else can say they've done this?
Look,
And who is there to rival Ilya now? Who is
e
going to match up with him?
exactly. Ilia Topuria, I mean, this was one of the most high level when it comes to, like, technical skill and the adjustments they made. I mean, Ilia Topuria, even coming out, he usually keeps that lead hand very low and shoulder rolls. The fact that it was constantly across his body doing the fighting with Max Holloway, and then was baiting Max Holloway. The reason he got caught by that huge left hook with his hands down is because Max was baiting out, or not Max, Ilya was baiting out Max Holloway's rear hand trapping that he was doing. He started doing that right off the jump, and Ilya just over time figured out the the perfect timing, the perfect placement for that shot. It's like Ilya outthought Alexander Volkanovski, and then slugged and, like, out techniqued Max Holloway. And this was such a high level technical fight that the fact that they went back and forth across, like, those 2.5 rounds showed that, like, you just Topuria has the technique and he has the skill to stand up to two all-time great Hall of Famers in this division. What he also has is insane power to go along with it. So it's just like, if Max Holloway's chin can't stand up to it, Volkanovski's brain can't outthink it, and, like, Holloway's overall just, like, gritty skill can't, like, kind of outmuster it, who in this division can deal with that? I There's no one, right? Like,
Yeah.
I I would be interested to see the winner of Mozart Evlov versus Aljamain Sterling, because they bring a very, like, heavily focused on grappling, to the situation, so we can see if Ilia Topuria is grappling, like, that aspect of his game is challenged really heavily. Or if Diego Lopez comes in. I mean, he's kind of a wild man who we know hits hard. That's a fun fight for Ilia Topuria to take, but yeah, I think, like you said, like, we've got Ilia Topuria has come out and said, like, he wants to retire by 30, 31. So we've had him for maybe 3 or 4 more years. We need to start getting him into big fights right now,
Mhm.
because beating Volkanovski and then the first person to TKO Max Holloway,
Yeah.
and in a fight where it wasn't, "Hey, he closed his eyes, this was a fluke," or Max looked bad in any way. Because, do you agree? Max looked great. Max looked
Max looked
fucking
really good.
awesome. He
He
looked
did
so
look really
good.
good. He did
Yeah,
really, but it is like we talked about before. I think if he keeps fighting, it's gotta be at lightweight, because, like,
sure.
he looked good
Right.
today, but it was different. It's
Sure.
different at he looks way better at he looks better at lightweight. So
I
yeah.
agree, but who at featherweight has a better chin than Max Holloway? Even this Max Holloway at featherweight.
Oh, yeah, I know, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, no one. So it's like, And Ilia Topuria, it wasn't just like outpowering him by outslugging him. Uh, uh, Myktabik Uruguay fight where it's like just rock'em sock'em robots. Like this was Ilia Topuria had that shot because he planned that shot and he set that shot up so well at the very end.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it was God. No, it's besides Usyk and Fury, it's my fight of the year. Like
Wow. Okay.
it was so high level the whole way through. Seeing how they adjusted like 4 or 5 times each every round. It was fucking amazing seeing them
Yeah.
do that. And then it was something to see. It was heartbreaking seeing Max get stretched like that, but it was like to see something that had never been done before. And it was like, God, Ilia Topuria is the guy. He
Yeah.
is the guy. Um, God. So yeah, what do you do with Max? What do you do with Ilya after that? What do you think?
Uh, well, Ilya, there are still some challengers at 145. I don't think there'll be a. I think he will make quick work of them. I think we're going to see a pretty dominant reign at 145 for Ilya. And it's just a matter of like, does he want to go up after that?
Yeah.
And because he is definitely undersized for lightweight, and will his power translate despite the size advantages? So I think fighting him against Diego Lopez is going to be a really interesting match to see. Because then it's like, okay, how will he handle a much bigger person? Because
Mhm.
yeah, Max is taller than him, but not like weight wise. And
Yeah.
one cool thing that we did see in this fight was Topuria going for a takedown, you know,
And
and getting Max down too. So that pretty much
yeah.
says like he could put anyone down if we wanted to, if he wanted
Mhm.
to go that route.
Mhm.
So
I
now
bet
you're seeing someone who is well-rounded in all areas of the game,
yeah.
tremendous striking power, tremendous technical striking ability, takedown ability, and supposedly, but we haven't seen it yet, just jujitsu wizardry. So it's like, what are you going to do against this guy?
Exactly. Wasn't that cool though? Because it felt like Topuria took him down to show Max, like, "Hey, man, I can take you down." And then Max got up instantly and was like, "Yeah, but I can get up instantly." And then they never really tried to do that again.
Yeah,
They both were like, "All right, cool. We both know
we
what the
both
score
proved
is
we could
there."
do. Yeah,
Yeah. What a cool, like, they both showed off the thing that they needed to show off, and then they were like, "Great, got it. It's gotta be a striking battle. Like, we
yeah,
know that that's how this fight's gotta go." And I
yeah,
was like, "God damn." It was just one small exchange, and they did that. It was,
yeah,
ugh,
yeah. That
beautiful.
was yeah. So yeah, I think Topuria can reign as long as he wants to at 145. But the big thing will be like how will he deal with bigger people? And I think him
Mhm.
fighting Diego Lopez will give us an indicator. If he makes easy work of Diego Lopez, then it's like, okay, now we can have another double champ. What is he going to do with that? And just there are a lot of intense challengers at 155. And I think Max
Yeah.
should stay at 155. I think he can
Mhm.
make a run um at 155, maybe one more title run, but there's a lot of fun and exciting fights that he could do at 155 if he wanted to do the whole BMF thing. Um yeah, I it's not the end of Max Holloway, but
No.
it is definitely it is the closing of one chapter of his now. But I mean, I was even saying this before, like he should be at 155.
Yeah.
And I think this just kind of is like, okay, here it is, that's it. But it will set up potential storylines down the line, if Max cements himself in 155 or even gets 155 gold and Topuria decides to move up. And this could be a very someone posted online that this could be like a very maybe not to the same degree, but similar to Alex Pereira, where like, okay, he was the guy at middleweight for a little bit, but when he lost by knockout and then moved up to light heavyweight, now he's at like his true weight class where he can take off from there. And I don't know if Max is going to have the dominance like that because, like we've talked about before, lightweight is just a different sport than in light heavyweight.
Mhm.
But I think this could be like it could be a second coming of Max's career.
Yeah. So 3 questions I've got for you. Number 1,
Okay.
what is the correct fight for Max Holloway to take at 155? after his first knockout loss.
Mm. That is
'Cause
tough.
it's gotta be kind of a warm-up fight, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, like, he also, like, do you want him like that for a little bit? Do you want him
Yeah. I'm saying warm up in like the least actual like legitimate terms. I'm talking somebody probably still in the top 15, probably still the top 10. That wouldn't test his chin as severely because he went against Justin Gaethje and Ilia Topuria in his last two fights, two of the heaviest hitters. Which I also have to say, Ilia Topuria, like Justin Gaethje did hit Max Holloway flush. It's not so much that Ilia Topuria has as much power because I don't buy that he has as much power as Justin Gaethje. He just sets up his strikes so much better than Justin Gaethje that it allows his power to come through even more. But
Oh,
that's
yeah,
beside
no,
the point.
that's 100%, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
it may not be, like, pound for pound, like,
yeah,
as strong as Justin Gaethje, like, if they were to hit that, like, crazy sensor thing, I don't know
yeah,
if he'll
yeah,
hit harder than Justin Gaethje,
hmm
but just the technique, the compactness, and the speed,
yeah,
that makes up for some of that, you know?
absolutely, yeah.
So,
Drawing out that hand parry from Max Holloway to open
yeah,
up that left hook, it's just
yeah.
beautiful. So what do you do with
So,
Max Holloway? Give me one or two opponents that he should take next.
okay, so I got a few,
All right.
and 2 of them are kinda like, okay, these are definitely warm-up fights, these are definitely things like, you know, like, they're almost like gimme fights for him,
Okay.
and one you might like, Paddy Pimblett.
Absolutely. That's absolutely right. Yeah. Yeah. Give me that. Give me
Paddy
that shit.
Pimblett Paddy
Yeah.
Pimblett or Renato Moicano.
Oh, perfect.
So those are 2,
Perfect.
but
Yes.
another one, if you want him, like, immediately to slot into, like, potential title contention, I say the loser of Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler. But that's
Okay.
also a dangerous fight too, like, for
Wait. Which one? You cut out.
the loser of Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler.
Mm.
So
Now,
that's more of you, like, you want him, okay, you're not next in line, but you're, like, after the number 1 contender fight or whatever, you know?
yeah, not bad. Now, see, here's my thing. He's gotten his chin cracked so many times. We need somebody who's still a very good fighter, where he can kind of get his groove back.
Yep.
I agree. Patty Pimblett, Hanato Moicano, both
Yeah.
those guys, fantastic, right? A top 15. Max Holloway, right? He's an undersized lightweight coming up. We know Patty Pimblett, huge lightweight. Doesn't hit very hard. Max Holloway, we saw how hard he is to hold down. He's gonna smoke Patty. I love that shit. Hanato Moicano, number 10 rank. Why not? Let's do it. Let's get Hanato Moicano in there. That
Yeah.
sounds great. Uh, you said Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler. What about a person who's meant to fight both of them, who just never gets in the ring, but would be a classic matchup for Max Holloway? What about Conor McGregor for the
Oh,
BMF belt against Max Holloway? Wouldn't
yeah.
that be? Ah, I think that's the perfect fight.
That is, but also I don't want Max strung out like that because that just means, like, he's on a time clock right now,
Sure.
and for him to be like, "Hey, I'm waiting for this fight. Oh, it doesn't happen. Okay, that was just, like, 8 months wasted for me now." Like, you
True.
know?
Why not? Here's my thing, and we'll get to this. What do we do next with Ilia Topuria? Um, I the UFC really won't go anywhere where a state or country will not pay them to show up with a site fee, but you have to strike while the iron's hot with Ilia Topuria. You have to go
Yes.
to. They've constantly talked about uh, Madrid's football stadium, the Bernabeu. You have to go to the Bernabeu, a large, I think it's 80,000 person soccer stadium. You have to do Ilia Topuria, Volkanovski, Ilia Topuria, Diego Lopez there. And then what about Max Holloway versus Conor McGregor? Or if Conor can't show up, Michael Chandler needs a paycheck, even if he loses to Charles Oliveira. Why not throw him in? Like, fuck it. Let's get him in there. Or Dan Hooker.
Yeah.
Dan Hooker with Max Holloway wouldn't be a bad fight.
That's also a good one too. Yeah.
Oh, it's I think my worry is they'll throw Max Holloway against Dustin Poirier. And I am a little worried against Dan Hooker just because I want his chin to take a little rest.
Mhm.
Because I think you're exactly right. He can still give us, like, he might be able to give us 4 or 5 more as a lightweight.
Yeah.
And it's just, he just needs his chin to rest. And I think Paddy Pimblett, Hanato Moicano, Conor McGregor will give his chin a rest. And anyone out there is like, oh man, Conor McGregor's going to test that chin. Go fuck yourself. The Max Holloway that fought this past weekend, let's be clear. The Max Holloway that fought this past weekend would absolutely pants and then murder Conor McGregor if he fought right now. Let me say this. Ilia Topuria would slaughter Conor McGregor right now.
Oh yeah.
It's both of these dudes. So happy to see it. Happy to see Max Holloway come back and get a little bit of a warm up fight. We can get the crowd behind him. I'd love to see it. Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah.
And then we have to move over to Ilia Topuria. Ilia Topuria said he's only planning on fighting 3 to 4 more years before he wants to retire. He comes from a well-off family. He has a lot of sponsorships and wealth coming from his kind of celebrity in Spain.
And when you said like he's like a superstar in Spain, I didn't realize how big he was until he literally had Sergio Ramos just like hanging out with him. One of the biggest like Spanish soccer stars ever. Like,
oh yeah, Madrid
what,
FC, the owner of Madrid FC,
Real Madrid?
yeah, came out or Real Madrid and said like, "Hey, I sorry, our game against Barcelona is at the same time as yours. Like next time, we'll try to make sure it doesn't happen again." Like he is, besides Real
And that's
Madrid, he is the biggest star. Like outside of that club, he is the biggest star in Spain.
which I
It's
didn't like. I know you said that, but I thought you were kind of being like exaggerating. But when I like
no.
see that, and also the fact that did you hear what fucking DC whispered to him at the end of the fight?
Mm-mm.
He barely said, "Hey, sorry, Real Madrid's down 0-2 against Barcelona right
Yeah,
now."
man. Oh, dude. Yeah, no. He's in the way Conor McGregor was for Ireland. Ilia Topuria is for Spain, and Spain is a country with 10x the population of Ireland, right? Like he's huge,
Yeah.
and I'm so worried the UFC will be like, well, Spain's not paying us a site fee. The Bernabeu isn't paying us a site fee. But like this, if you're ever going to do a soccer stadium in Europe for a European MMA fighter, it's Ilia Topuria, baby.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah, I
like,
believe it now. I believe
yeah,
like he is a major superstar.
absolutely. So, with that said he only wants to fight to age 30 or 31. He fights 2 times a year. So, we're getting maybe 5 to 7 more fights out of him his
Yeah.
entire career. What do you do with him for those 5 or 7 fights, Colin?
Okay. So the next fight for him at 145, I feel like has to be either a rematch with Volk or Diego Lopez. It has to be one of those two.
Is that the first fight you do with him?
Yeah.
Or do you do Conor McGregor in the Bernabeu Stadium at 155 to try to capitalize because this is his moment?
From a business standpoint, yeah, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
From a standings and canonical order standpoint, fuck all that. Like, you know,
You telling me you wouldn't be interested to see Conor McGregor coming back against somebody, a small 145er, like you said, against Conor McGregor for whatever he is, a big 155er.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't be interested in that? And then, dude, if Ilia can stretch Max, you don't think he could stretch Conor?
It's just,
In the Bernabeu.
yeah,
In the heart of Madrid. Come on.
I mean, it is like really interesting and exciting to see, but at the same time, like I would rather them build him up and the division more against like an actual contender in the featherweight. Like,
Sure.
and that's my personal preference. But him and Connor would be a very hyped up. It would definitely be like the pay-per-view of the year for the
Okay, how about
UFC.
this? Ilia Topuria,
Okay.
Conor McGregor in the Bernabeu, Real Madrid Stadium as the main event, 155. We also get a 155 clash between Max Holloway and Paddy Pimblett. You telling me that wouldn't be the
I
most
would
fucking
listen.
bodacious pay-per-view? Fucking come on, man.
No, that
Oh,
would be great. Here's the thing though. Ilia has, I mean, like you said, he doesn't have the greatest chin. He does get clipped with things, kind of like what we talked about with Alex Pereira.
mhm.
The danger for me, it's just like it's not that I want to protect him as a champion, but it's just like it would be so insufferable if Connor got one of his explosive left hand straight down the middle
Oh, bro.
and took out Topuria. Like
He
in the
took
in the
he took
2%
like
chance that would happen.
He took 200 of Max Holloway's strikes flush just to land the fucking thunder on Max. Like, you telling me poked up Connor, who hasn't fought in 3.5 years, is going to be able to do that?
I
No
mean,
way.
it's a very small chance, but even that small, imagine how insufferable Connor would become, and imagine how insufferable the UFC and all of the stupid fucking mouth breathing fans would be like if that happened.
I have too much faith in Ilya, and I think you need to come to this side of the fence where we all recognize. Like, here's the real thing: is like seeing the fan reaction to this, people being excited for Ilya, sad for Max. Like, I understand, but like, I think one of the things that we need to really understand is like, people didn't really get on Max's side till after he beat Jose Aldo, and then he only had 2 or 3 title defenses.
Mm.
People didn't really get on Alexander Volkanovski's side until he beat Brian Ortega. And that was after he beat Max Holloway twice and Jose Aldo and Chad Mendez. And then he lost 3 fights later or
Mhm.
2 fights later. I feel like people get on the bandwagons of people right when they're right at their peak or have proven their peak, and then they fall off shortly after just because that's the nature of fighting. Time to get on Ilya's bandwagon was long ago when I was saying get on Ilya's bandwagon when he beat Bryce Mitchell and Josh Emmett. And like, we need to, you got to get on his bandwagon now because even if he stays at the top for these next 3 years, he's only around for 5 more fights. And probably what'll happen is he'll lose one of those 5 fights. So jump on it now. Fuck it.
Mhm.
Believe. Get in there and want him to achieve greatness now. Because if we go, well, we got to cook him for 2 or 3 more years, he's going to be out. It's the same thing with Max Holloway. He only had 3 years at the top of
Yeah.
featherweight, and then he was out. Like, you have to be there right when someone gets in there. And Ilia Topuria has proven Holloway and Volkanovski, both by knockout, both not even in the championship rounds in a calendar year. You got to get on him now. He's got maybe 1 or 2 more of his like most hot years. So let's get him Conor McGregor. Let's get him Islam Makhachev. Let's get him like Diego Lopez. I'm fine with. If Sean O'Malley comes up, that'd be a cool fight. Let's get these big fights in there.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, ugh. It was so sad to see Max lose, but I think Max still has some great fights. But like Ilya is the next, and that's the thing is I think in like 4 or 5 years we'll be talking about him like we talk about Max Holloway and Jose Aldo now. And when the new person is coming up, prepared to beat him, we'll be like, God, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see Ilya lose because we saw all these great fights from him. But the time
Yeah.
is now. The time is now. You got to jump on the bandwagon now, Colin. Come on now.
I
We're
no,
going.
I am very impressed with Ilya. I like you said, I severely underestimate his star power and like his popularity. And yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't think anyone will challenge him at featherweight. I think he's
No.
basically like with just those 2 wins. I mean, yes, he's had other wins, but with those 2, he's basically cleared out the division. Like if you are beating Volkanovski and Max Holloway in that fashion, who else is there in this division that's gonna give you any sort of concern? The
Yeah.
only thing is someone who's bigger. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's really the only thing we haven't seen him deal with. Okay, bring in Diego
Allegedly.
Lopez. And when he knocks out
Yeah.
Diego Lopez in the exact same way, is gonna be like, all right. Who really wants to come up next? I don't think anyone's gonna want any of that.
Yeah. So it sounds like what's going to happen is in February, Volk and Diego Lopez will fight for the interim title. I'm going to
Wait,
assume
what?
Volk.
Wait, what?
So in February, there's a fight card in Sydney.
Yeah.
Ilia Topuria had said he doesn't want to fight in Sydney. He wants June or July. Maybe May. Volk has never fought in Australia. He's only fought once, and he's adamant that he wants to fight in Sydney. And he said, I would fight Diego Lopez if they would make it for an interim. Dana White has said, maybe they'll make it for an interim. I assume they probably will.
Why would
'Cause
they? It just there's no reason for it to be an interim.
no, it's silly, but who cares? It's basically a glorified number one contender, and then they'll fight Ilia 4 or 5 months later.
Yeah.
I will assume Volk can still beat Diego Lopez. But I would assume Ilia Topuria will smoke Volk in short order afterwards.
Yeah.
Like I think you're right. I don't think there's really anyone at 145. It would be cool to see him beat Diego Lopez, defeat Mosar Evloev, so he has 4 title defenses and then move up. But like, okay, in your dream scenario, we have 5 fights that he gets to take. What are your 5 fights that you give to Ilia Topuria? Let's go quickly.
At featherweight.
No. In his career, because he said
in his career.
he's done in 3
Yeah.
years. He wants to fight 2 times a year. He's got 3 to 4 years, so we got 5, 6 fights, maybe 7. Let's just do 5. What are your 5 fights you go in order?
All right. Volk and Diego Lopez.
Okay. The winner of that.
Winner of that.
Okay.
Yeah. Charles Oliveira.
Okay.
I'd
That's
like
not
to think
a bad
it's
fight.
But just because like both of them dynamic striking, both of them dynamic grappling as well. And then either Arman or Islam.
I think that's a good call. And then what? Just defend the 155 title?
Yes or fine, Connor.
Yeah. See, here's my thing. I think what you do is you do Connor, right? He's never been hotter. In May, Bernabeu, you bring Connor in there, right? You have him and Connor. It's the Connor's last fight. He smokes Connor. He will therefore have beaten, besides Jose Aldo, which, did we bring Jose Aldo back up to fight Ilia Topuria? Maybe, I don't know. But Connor and Ilia, they fight 155. He goes back down, fights against the winner of Diego Lopez versus Alexander Volkanovski, goes back up to 155, challenges Islam or Arman Sarukian, whoever is champion then. Though I'm more interested in like Islam or Arman fighting Shavkat Rakhmonov once he beats Bilal Muhammad. But that's beside the point. There used to be, a few years ago, Ilia and Paddy Pimblett yelling at each other. And Paddy calling out Ilia Topuria. Yes. And I'm like, it was like, this is the biggest mismatch ever. Ilia will kill this guy. And if they don't give Ilia, or not Ilia, if they don't give Max Holloway Paddy Pimblett, I want to see Ilia Topuria execute this man on the spot. That's what I want to see. I think a chance to do 155. I think get 1 or 2 more title defenses at 145 and get that money fight with Connor. I think that's how you play the Ilia game. Because he might be. God, do I even say it? Like, he might be the best fighter we've seen in the UFC. Like, 145 is the division of champions, and he has smoked 2 of the past champions. And not only has he smoked them, he beat the guy who was unknockoutable, and he beat the guy who, like, you couldn't out-technique. And he out-techniqued that guy, and he knocked out that guy. Like, that's... Yeah, man. He's great. He's great. And Max is still great, too. Max is still fighting. I had heard somebody said, like, if Ilia Topuria and Max Holloway both had the equal knockout power, Max Holloway would have won. And it is this weird thing of like the innate gifts you each have kind of plays off each other. But like I would still argue like Max Holloway, if all of the intangibles like chin and knockout power were equal, Max Holloway might still be the best fighter in that division. Like he just is so fucking good. So I'm excited to see him at 155, trying to carry on some of his legacy. But Ilia Topuria, man, an absolute beast, and we got to appreciate him right now. Don't wait 2 or 3 years. Appreciate him now. He's the real deal. Yeah. Well, let's talk about what's not the real deal, or what's somebody who I can't tell if they're the real deal. This Khamzat Chimaev Robert Whittaker fight, man. Walk me through your emotions as you were watching this fight.
So, okay, it started off exactly as we thought. Like, Khamzat's coming out and just taking down Rob, and like Rob's got to do whatever he can to just survive. And he was doing what he could, but you could tell, like, holy shit, like Khamzat can just hold you down, and like you are not going anywhere. Like,
hey,
goddamn.
But Rob minimizing damage, like good technique to make sure that like there weren't 2 hooks brought in. Like I thought Rob for 3.5 minutes, fucking nailing it. He was doing everything you need to do against Khamzat Chimaev. He was like, you're not getting my back. You're not dealing like really any ground and pound at all. Doing great.
Yeah, and it was good, and he was, it was like, okay, you're taxing him, you're doing what you can, just survive this round, and then just make him just start dragging him into the deep waters. And then I don't know how the fuck he did this, but he got this like neck crank / rear naked choke / just fucking muscling this where he dislocates Rob's jaw and shoves his teeth back. Like it was gnarly seeing that picture. Like, what the fuck?
Absolutely rancid. Disgusting shit.
Yeah. Like, goddamn.
So it turns out he didn't break Rob's jaw. Rob's jaw was not fully intact at that point. Apparently, so Rob has 2 or 3 teeth on his bottom jaw removed because of damage that has gone to his jaw from an incident as a child. And he had said he had never gotten it fully repaired because it was a very extensive surgery, and he didn't want to do it because it would take him out of fighting for a long time.
Okay.
And essentially, even while fighting Yoel Romero, Jacare Souza, Derek Brunson, Brad Tavares, it never caused him too much trouble. But when he got punched hard by DDP, the part of his jaw that wasn't fully intact kind of slipped out of place.
Oh.
And so they put it back into place, and then that caused an abscess in his gum line and some like gum recession and bone deterioration before the Imavov fight. Aliskerov fight. But essentially, like, hey, it's not too bad, no big deal. But when Chimaev wrenched on his face, it just pushed it right back out of line, essentially. So it's both impressive that Chimaev was able to do that, but it's also like Whittaker came in with a jaw that was not intact and has apparently been fighting for many years with a jaw that's not fully, all the bone is not fully fused, and his teeth are not fully like fused to his jawbone. And it finally like kind of came home to roost, right? Like it finally got knocked too wonky out of his face. How did you feel, I guess, like seeing this fight, and like what questions do you still have coming out of this fight? Because I gotta be honest, I was like, well, knowing that Rob came in compromised with this face thing, like it was impressive that Khamzat Chimaev was able to do that, Robert Whittaker, but like if Robert Whittaker had an intact face, would this, because he was less than 90 seconds away from that round ending, and he was defending everything very well.
Yeah.
And it just happened that, like, it turns out Robert Whittaker has teeth not attached to any part of his face, just floating around in his gums.
Yeah, I did
And
not know that, and
yeah, so, like, Hamzat Chimaev, like, it does, speak to his squeeze that he can wrench someone's teeth, but I'm also like, Robert Whittaker is saying, like, "Oh, yeah, my teeth kind of move around independently of my jaw," and they did that during the DDP fight as well. I'm like, well, what the fuck are you fighting for, my man? Put those teeth back in your face.
yeah.
Like, yeah. And so, yeah, he said, like, oh, well, I guess now this will be excuse to get the dental surgery I've needed for many years. And I was like, Rob, you broke my heart, buddy. Like,
Yeah.
you were doing, he was doing so well, I felt like defending everything. There was very little damage dealt prior to that choke. Um, God damn.
But
If,
yeah, that changes everything right now.
yeah.
Like, I think on the one hand, it's like, what the fuck were you thinking? Like,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
like that is certifiable donkey brains right there. But at the same
Oh,
time,
don't say
like,
it about Bobby Knuckles, but it's
I
true.
know, but
It's true.
but also it's like it also kind of makes what he did accomplish so far that much more impressive.
Yes,
Like, that's
absolutely.
basically saying like, hey, I have fought with like a hand that is always like perpetually broken.
Yeah,
Like, and like that's some hardcore like tough man shit right there.
yeah.
Because
Oh,
I've fought with injuries before, and like I fought with like, but not to the point where like, hey, if you like hit my jaw in the right place, all of my teeth are just gonna fall off. Like
yeah.
like that
Oh, no, man.
has
I
never been my case.
yeah, I've sparred with bruised ribs, and I'll tell you what, it
Yeah.
turns me into a little baby bitch. Like, I can't do nothing. And Rob's out there being
Taking
like,
shots.
yeah, being like, "It's no big deal. My teeth aren't attached to the rest of my head. It's just the squishy gums keeping them in line." And you're like, "That's not how you should be fighting." Like,
Yeah.
that means if someone just taps you gently, because he taps so fast to that too. It must have been something where that forearm hit his teeth and they just like slid 7 feet back in his head. It
Yeah.
was, and that photo was so, ugh.
That was like
Yeah.
I was like, oh, like it was like a horror, and it's perfect for Halloween, but like goddamn.
Yeah, man. Ugh, it's and like what I guess where do we go from here? Because I didn't learn. I saw that Robert Whitaker knew the technique and had the athletic ability to minimize basically any damage. Hamzat only had control in that round. And then it was like, okay, if Rob didn't have busted ass teeth, would he have survived? I don't know, but it seems like it. So what does that tell me about Hamzat, and what does that tell me about Robert?
Well,
Fuck all. I don't know.
yeah, it's one of those things where it's like we're we won't know with Rob. Like
Yeah,
it's like, what if you came in without an injury? Like I mean, this is the nature of the game, but also
yeah,
but this is also something like, okay, now if is he gonna get surgery that takes him out, and he's a little bit older? Like
mhm,
it's kind of like you said when we were texting. Like I think this might be it for him, and
yeah.
which is like a really sad way for him to end. Like if this is the end of his career, because it's like, yes, you lost, but you also lost in like a weird, fluky way. But also, you shouldn't have been able to be as successful as you have been. This is always going to be a question to me, like, what could Robert Whitaker have been if he had a healthy jaw this whole time? Like,
I mean, Rob Whitaker is one of those. We always talk about Dominic Cruz or Cain Velasquez as people plagued by injury.
mhm.
Robert Whitaker had a broken hand going into the Jacare fight. He had a broken hand going into the Yoel Romero, the very first fight. He had a
Mhm.
blown ACL in the second fight with Yoel Romero. He got his jaw broken in the second fight against Yoel Romero. Then he had a hernia, a blown, was it bowel? Or like he had to get his
Oh,
bowel
jeez.
reconstructed prior to fighting Israel Adesanya. He had chicken pox and tonsillitis. Like, this dude is Robert Whitaker, low key, even though nobody makes much of it, has had a series of it in the same way that Dominic Cruz and Cain Velasquez, like career-ending illnesses and injuries that he just keeps fighting on, and is still able to maintain basically the same status Max Holloway had in the 145-pound division, like the number 2 or number 3 best fighter, while battling all these things.
Yeah.
It just yeah, it feels bad, right? He doesn't get that Dustin Poirier versus Islam Makhachev like send off fight where like, you lost it pretty roundly, but goddamn, you gave your best. It was like, oh man, Hamza Chimaev just like slapped on kind of a lazy rear naked choke that nobody else would tap to, but your teeth are fucked. They're just floating around in like gummy nothingness, and so you have to tap, man. Like, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, even I totally forgot like some of those other injuries and like, yeah, just plagued by being unhealthy, which is also the story of Hamzat, like,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like what are these two fighters? Like, what is it what's gonna happen? Like, okay, Hamzat goes out and gets the win, gets the like first round, win that basically Dana White said, okay, you potentially could now get the title shot. But it didn't really show us like what is he going to be able to do,
Yeah.
like if will he be able to just outmuscle the weird like big man that is DDP? Like I honestly don't know. Like everything I've seen would indicate yes, but also like DP is just so big and like weirdly athletic in a way that is not athletic,
Oh yeah, if Yo Romero was the Babylonian God King, an indestructible golem of the old world, DDP, he is the like weird like I don't know what do you call it like Gaelic or Franco God King, like he's like a weird like he's what the Vikings prayed to, just like Thor or Odin, just big donks running around who can hit people really hard.
Yep.
And like you said, we still don't know, what does Khamzat Chimaev look like with a real middleweight past the 4-minute mark? Because for the first 3 minutes, look, he was taking Robert Whitaker down. He was controlling him roundly, and we were like, great. But Robert Whitaker also was mitigating a shitload of damage until that very final sequence. And it's like, if Robert Whitaker didn't have that pre-existing injury, does this suddenly become a Robert Whitaker fight? We can't say. But what I do know is DDP sticks around, and I watched him fight Israel Adesanya and face plant and nearly bust his own nose, only to take Israel Adesanya down. Like, if you don't kill him, he will keep fighting and will win positions in bafflingly like the most insane ways ever. So I don't know. I think you got to do Khamzat versus DDP. Fuck Sean Strickland. Like, get Khamzat in there against DDP. I think that's the fight to make.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who do you pick against Khamzat and DDP?
God, that's the thing. I don't know anymore. Everyone should be able to beat DDP, and yet they can't.
Yeah.
And again, will Hamza even make it to the fight? I don't know. That's always a question that we're going to have,
Yeah.
And then when he shows up, what's going to happen in this first round? Like, I have no idea. Like, if Hamza can't take DDP down, which is a very real possibility.
I'm sure he'll be able to, but like,
or hold him down then? Like,
yeah, like, or do anything. Like, he gets him down, but then what?
Yeah.
It's weird because it's like we said, like, all right, if Brad Tavares can stop DDP's takedowns and punch him, he should be able to win. Brad Tavares did that and he lost. And we're like, all right, if Darren Till can land that like amazing left straight on DDP, he should be able to knock him out. And he did that for an entire round, just routinely, and DDP won. And we're like, all right, if Robert Whitaker can land that high kick and jab against DDP. He'll win. And then Robert Whittaker did that, and DDP won. And we're like, fuck, okay. If Israel Adesanya can jab and head kick DDP, he should be able to win. And then Israel Adesanya did that, and DDP fucking won. So it's like, and all of these fights, his finishes come in the third round, third, a 5-round decision with Sean Strickland, and then 4th round finish. So it's like, is DDP the guy who can just hang around long enough to beat Khamzat Chimaev? Not because of any unique skill, but just because, like,
he's durable and can outlast. Yeah.
Yeah. He can just, yeah.
It does get to the point where when do we start saying, okay, DDP is the guy at middleweight now? Like,
oh my God. It's that's one of those things. I think there are 3 fighters currently that I was really thinking about. So like Ilia Topuria, DDP, and Shavkat Rakhmonov. We'll see if Shavkat can kind of fulfill this prophecy when he fights Bilal in December. But like, all 3 of these fighters strike me as Max Holloway. I thought won the first 2 rounds against Ilia Topuria. I thought Israel Adesanya won 2 or 3 rounds against DDP. I think, right, like, some people take rounds off Shavkat Rakhmonov, but it's this thing of, like, if you give them 15 minutes or 25 minutes to figure you out, on a long enough timeline, they will destroy you. Like, you have to kill them quickly. Otherwise, if you give them too much time to hang around, they're too devastating overall to, like, let that happen. And Khamzat is the opposite of that. It's like, if you let him destroy you in the first round, he will destroy you. You have to make it to the second round. And so it's this ultra weird confluence of, like, DDP is, I will kill you if you let me get out of the first round. But Khamzat is this, if I get out of the first round, like, I haven't killed. Like, it's such a weird.
I have to kill you in the first round.
Yeah, he's the best first round fighter at middleweight. And then DDP is the best long distance fighter at middleweight. It's the most baffling thing. So we got to see it. And surprisingly, after seeing this fight, seeing how well Rob was able to defend against a lot of what Khamzat was doing, and then learning about, like, oh, Rob being like, oh yeah, I've had this injury for a long time. I'm like, fuck, DDP might beat Khamzat Chimaev. Like, what an insane thing to say. Like,
yeah, right.
It doesn't make any sense, Colin.
No,
fuck middleweight.
I'm right there with
you. Crazy.
Like, it is this crazy, like, black hole of fighting, like, where the things that what should be up is down, what should be down, like, it doesn't make sense.
And imagine, dude, if DDP finishes Robert Whittaker, he beats Sean Strickland, and then he finishes Israel Adesanya and probably finishes Khamzat Chimaev. Is he the best?
Don't say it. Don't fucking say it.
Like, legitimately, like, you got to answer that. Like, is he the best middleweight of all time? Because he will have done. He will kind of have done. It's not the exact same extent, but Izzy and Rob were the kind of Volkanovski and Holloway of this division,
of middleweight,
right?
Yeah,
they reigned over it, and then there was this one outlier with Sean Strickland, and then he beat Sean Strickland, and then the new hot guy coming up, and he beats him as well. Like, that, I mean, that's kind of Topuria beating Volk, Max, Diego Lopez, and then, I don't know, Brian Ortega in the middle, or Josh Emmett, right? Josh Emmett was like hot shit. Like, that's what a crazy, like, and that might happen.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Middleweight, man.
Yeah, what the fuck are we living in?
What the fuck? Anyway, what do you do with Rob Whittaker after this? Assuming he comes back.
I don't know. I think he needs to get this jaw tooth repairing surgery and then need to see if this is even. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, that now to me, that is, like, very scary. Like, what?
Yeah.
I don't want him to fight and then, like, this to be a recurring thing, and then, like, in 5 or 10 years, he, like, can't use his jaw and, like, can't
Yeah.
speak because of that, can't eat because of that. Like, that's not worth it, you know?
Yeah. You're exactly right. Like, so do you put him back into kind of like the queue of contenders? Do you just put him into like as I guess I mean, what fun fights are there even to make it middleweight? You could do share a bullet. You could fight share a bullet, right?
Oh
Like,
gosh.
um, like yeah, it's hard because it's not like 145 or 155 where there's a bunch of exciting fights that you can kind of line someone up with that aren't devastating contender fights.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope Rob is able to come back from it because yeah, kind of like what a ignominious end to his career at middleweight if that's the
If
case.
it's yeah, it is very yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think Hamzat's got to get the next title shot, and then Rob maybe I don't know anyone in the top 15 to top 10. Rob should be able to easily smoke. Like
Yeah.
again, let's get him a warm up fight in the same way that we want Max Holloway versus Paddy Pimblett. Let's get Rob versus Brendan Allen. Someone easy for him to just style on. That's what I think. Yeah. All right. We got to talk about your favorite division now. Light heavyweight, man. What
Yeah,
did you think about this Rakic and Ankalaev fight? We called correctly.
yeah. Like,
Like
what the fuck?
Rakic definitely beat him in the first round. How did you end up scoring this fight overall?
Um, I did score it, 2 rounds to 1, Ankalaev,
But could you
and
see Rakic winning 2-1?
oh, of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think they were
Yeah.
very close rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and but it didn't need to be, like
I dude, right? Like, and also here's
like
the thing. It wasn't even like Ankalaev came out and was like, "I'm not going to grapple, so I'm gonna go like balls to the wall." It was a pretty shitty kickboxing match.
yeah. This was also not the Rakic that I wanted to see. Like, the Rakic that I saw when he fought Yuri was the Rakic I was hoping to see this one, and there was none of that.
Well,
And I
my
just
boy's got PTSD. He went ham wild against Hotska, and then he was like, "Oh God!" And then I got killed for it. I better come out and be a tepid little point scoring boy.
yeah, and what this told me was, yep, exactly that. Like, Rakic is either, like, overthinking or, like, scared
Yeah.
of striking, which,
Mhm.
hey, like, this is the vision with Alex Pereira. If you wanna get to the top, you have to strike, you know,
Yeah.
like, or you have to wade into those waters.
Mhm.
And 2, this also showed me that, okay, if Ankalaev really wants to be that guy against Pereira, he will just end up as another, like, trophy mounted on, you know, Pereira's ever-growing mantle of victims. Like, he
Absolutely.
cannot stand and bang like he did with Pereira. Like, that is gonna be a one-punch knockout night for Pereira.
Yeah. Like seeing this, like Ankalaev clearly. So with this win, he moves to the person in UFC light heavyweight history with the longest winning streak outside of John Jones.
What?
Yeah, right at light heavyweight. Only John Jones has a longer winning streak than Ankalaev. I think it's 13 for Ankalaev.
No way.
Yahweh. Or I guess unbeaten streak, not wins in a row, because Ankalaev
Yeah.
has that draw and that no contest, but unbeaten streak.
Uh,
This actually made me uh fairly confident in picking Pereira to beat Ankalaev in their
yeah.
fight.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
It
And so
just
I think,
solidified the donkey brains.
yeah,
Like,
absolutely. So let's do it. Fuck it. Get him in there. Get him in there in like January or even this December card. Let's get Ankalaev and Pereira in there. Fuck it. Let's do it, man. Cause yeah, if Rakic, like you said, fighting poorly, Rakic did not fight up to his ability. And
yeah.
if Ankalaev just squeaked by, because
Yeah.
those 2 rounds that he won, the third round I thought he was a little bit clearer the winner, but like that second round and even the
Eh,
third round, it wasn't clearly dominant.
you could easily have gone either way on one. Yeah.
Yeah, I like at the very end of the fight, I was like, dude, I don't know. Like Rakic could win this. Like I have no idea.
Yeah.
Um, it
It would
like
not surprise me if the judges were like, yeah, Rakic, you know?
yeah,
Like,
exactly. Yeah, you could easily find 2 rounds for Rakic. It was
yeah.
not. Yeah, Ankalaev. Yeah, man. I'm like, bro, Pereira might just have had this on wrap.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. It made me downgrade Ankalaev overall.
Yeah.
And also like, dude, just compare Ankalaev running around with terrible footwork, or not Ankalaev, Rakic, and then Ankalaev trying to like chase him down.
Yeah.
The amount of adjustments Ilia Topuria not using his lead hand down by his chin, but like having it go across to be checking. And then in the second round being like, I'm not going to pressure. I'm just going to stand in the middle and make Max throw and miss and then counter, just like Max did against Jose Aldo. And then Max realizing what was happening, coming out southpaw in the third round. I was like, dude, these adjustments are brilliant. They're so sophisticated and minute, and they're doing exactly what needs to be done. Rakic and Ankalaev, Rakic is like, what if I run faster in a circle? And Ankalaev is like, what if I throw 2 jabs rather than 1? And I was like, the level of kickboxing between these 2 matches is, dude, it's white belt versus black belt. It was crazy to watch.
Yeah.
So yeah, dude, I think Pereira, fuck it. I'm calling it right now. Pereira, second round TKO. That's my bet. Anytime they fight, Pereira, second round TKO, he's taking out Ankalaev. Fuck this. Just like I called Ilia Topuria KOing Max, I'm calling it right now. Pereira is beating Ankalaev. No sweat.
Yeah.
Easily.
I'm saying first round though. Like,
ooh. Yeah. You know what? First round might be a good call because Ankalaev not very good at the first round. Very slow starter.
Yeah, and I think he's gonna do something stupid, like I'm gonna try to trade with you, and he's gonna go, uh-oh, and then in his like moment of like brief clarity where he goes, this was a bad idea, another big hook is gonna come and just destroy him.
Yeah. Yeah, you're exactly right. So okay, 10 seconds. We have to do this.
Okay.
Fighter of the year. It's gotta be Ilia Topuria, right? Because you can't be in Alex Pereira's division and seeing light heavyweight fighters and be like, that's fighter of the year.
I want to think about it some more, but yeah.
No.
Topuria, no, I want to think about it more. I'm going to think about it more at the end of the year, because I have to weigh I have to think more about the significance of what Alex Pereira has done and compare it to the significance of what Ilia Topuria has done.
Okay.
Like it comes down to those two, of course. But
yes. When we come to significance, I will give you Alex Pereira should win if I was the UFC, like MVP of the year.
okay.
He is the star of the UFC this year.
Mhm.
He saved cards and he put on great performances across 3 pay-per-views rather than 2. But the difficulty of knocking out Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway in the same calendar year when you're an undersized featherweight rather than beating Yuri Prochazka, Jamal Hill, and Khalil Roundtree. Come now. Like that.
Yeah. But there is an argument. We got to do this at another time. This is gonna be a whole. This could be a whole episode in itself, But I think we will
bury you if you don't pick Ilia Topuria. Dude, Ilia Topuria outclassed and outboxed Max Holloway. Like, come. Anyway, right? Leg kicking Yuri Prochazka when he goes southpaw, and then you can see on his face he goes, "Oh shit, I shouldn't have done that." Like that's not. Anyway, and when your biggest opponent is Ankalaev versus Diego Lopez or Mosar Evloev, it's like whatever. Anyway, beside the point. Ankalaev Rakic, the fight kind of sucked. I didn't like it. It wasn't very good. Bad skill. Lerone Murphy, Dan Ige. You rode with Dan Ige. We talked about how he has a great counter, and he dropped Lerone Murphy in the first round. My question for you is, after getting this pick entirely wrong, how Where do you see Lerone Murphy fitting in? Do you think he has a chance of challenging for the title
No,
in 2 or 3 more fights?
challenging or like just making it to the title fight.
Ooh, let's say, I guess, making it to the title than challenging. We can differentiate those 2.
Okay, I think he can work his way up the rankings to eventually challenge for the title, but
Mhm,
like we just talked about at length, I don't think he will be any sort of challenge to Ilia. And
mhm.
what this match told me more was Dan Ige is kind of like he also is like I've got 1.5 rounds in me that's like really good and then falls off pretty quickly and pretty hard after that. Like he looked great the first round. I was like, all right, here we go.
Mhm.
Dan Ige looking strong. And then the second round, I was like, uh-oh. Like, Dan Ige, you're supposed to like be in shape for this. You had more than 4 hours notice. What happened? And then the
Yeah,
third round, uh-oh, this is now a trend. It is not a 4 hour short notice thing. It is a this is how you fight type thing.
yeah.
And that is not gonna cut it at the top or the upper divisions in the featherweight division where everyone at the upper echelons has cardio, not to mention skill, technique, and things like that. So yeah, that I still like Dan Ige. I think the heart that he showed still coming in to save that card was great. But now I am a little worried about his overall cardio and his ability to go more than a round and a half.
Yeah, I don't know if it's even, like, physical cardio because, we saw him fight 3 rounds at a
Yeah.
similar pace with Diego Lopez, right? And, like, Diego Lopez title challenger. I think it's something of, like, and you know this, and if anyone who's trained knows this, like, if you get the fight you want, even if it's kind of back and forth or blood and guts in that sense, having the pace or the tempo and kind of the mental, like, all I need to think about is countering or this is how we will exchange. Getting that fight can actually, like your mental cardio almost. You can
Mhm.
relax a little bit more into the fight. And when you're forced to think about too many things, it's almost like the Sean O'Malley Merab Dvalishvili fight. Like Sean O'Malley has very good cardio and had a much higher output against Cheeto Vera, but that
Mhm.
was the fight he wanted to have. And then he seemed much more tired by the Merab Dvalishvili fight, even though Merab wasn't getting, wasn't dealing an insane amount of damage or actually pressing that high of a pace. It's just like it's mentally taxing to have to think about all of those things.
Right.
And that's kind of what it felt like for me with Dan Ige. Is like Dan Ige, if he gets the fights he wants, he's really potent. But if you can take him out of the fight he wants, he like mentally gasses more than he physically gasses. So that, then it translates to like physical uh, exhaustion.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? Right? Like it's like this weird. Uh, he can fight and go in like a hardcore firefight or like a heavy top game grappling match with Diego Lopez. But like Lerone Murphy just seemed to kind of confuse him or throw him off his game, and he gassed like trying to figure it out. It seemed to me.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I got the call right. I knew I would get it right. Lerone Murphy. Uh, Lerone Murphy's good, right? Like, I do
Yeah.
want to see him move up the ranks a little bit. It'd be cool to see him against like Yair Rodriguez. I know. Oh, that's another one. Brian Ortega said he's moving up to 155. Max Holloway and Brian Ortega at 155. I wouldn't mind seeing that. That'd be
Yeah.
fun again.
Yeah.
Um,
Seeing a rematch of them, even though Max, like,
Demolished him.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. We need Max to kind of get back on the road to success. I don't care about Brian Ortega. Feed him to the Lions. Like, I want Max feeling good again. Yeah. But yeah, an okay fight. Lerone Murphy, I think, is good. I think since Ilya's only around for 2 or 3 more years, like, we need to keep generating these people to come up. Yeah, I like Lerone Murphy. Give him Yair Rodriguez. Give him Josh Emmett. Something like that. I think it'd be good.
Mhm.
All right. Everyone and their mother was excited by this Share a Bullet Magomedov knockout of Armin Petrosyan. Tell me what you thought about this knockout. Was it a contender for knockout of the year, or
Fuck
was
no.
it good? Tell me why. Enlighten the viewers, because the amount of fucking people who told me that this was like one of the best, coolest knockouts of the year, I thought I was taking crazy pills, Colin. I'm
Yes.
so glad to hear you say this. I was
No.
losing my mind.
No. It was like, okay. Here's the thing. What I saw happen was Petrosian tried to do the spinning back fist and just like kind of whiffed on it. And Shara Bullet was like, I too could do that. And then when he did it once and it was blocked, he was like, well, I'll just spin and try it again. Like another spin move, and just happened to catch him. Like, I don't believe in luck in fighting, because when you see an opening, you fill an opening. Or like, even if it's a quote unquote like lucky punch or whatever that happened to land, it's you trained it in that way. This though kind of dispels all of my thoughts about whether or not there's luck in it, because it really did seem like that. And
Yeah.
there was no setup for this. This was not something that it was clear that, Magomedov was like developing or trying to bait him into it. It was literally, it was the most middleweight thing that we could have seen. Like, just splaying of limbs, just random technique, just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what stuck. And apparently, a double spinning backflip is what stuck today. And no, it was not the knockout of the year. It was no, 100% no.
Yeah. It was the wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man at your car dealership. Like,
this is the shit you see on the regional circuit too.
Yes. This is what you see, like purple belts and blue belts in striking, like throwing just half-assedly, being like, what if I flail randomly?
Yeah.
What if I throw a double punch at the same time and like or I fly through the air like I'm a WWE wrestler and try to like double
drop
leg
kick
some. Yeah, like that's it. That's what it felt like. And here's the thing too, is like, okay, did he land it? And it did knock him out. So it is cool that he landed a goofy ass technique. Armin Petrosyan, we said this earlier, like, hey, Armin Petrosyan needs to be like stick to his boxing fundamentals and like march through the kicks and do this. And watching this fight, there's a point where his corner is like, all right, man, back him up. All right, land on him. And then he goes, all right, and he leg kicks him. And I went, fuck, he's just gonna try to outpoint him at range with kicking. And I was like, this is what Shara Bullet only gets these knockouts because he's fighting bums. Absolute bums of the middleweight division. And it's like, I guess we can make the decision. Do we want Shara Bullet to keep fighting cans? Kind of like Michael Venom Page did in Bellator, where he gets these like amazing knockouts that you'd never see anywhere else because he's fighting absolute donkey brained fools? Or are we going to put him against someone who has an ounce of skill? I thought it was a shitty fight, and that knockout, everyone was raving about it. I thought it was a shitty knockout too.
Yeah. I mean, it was one of those things to me where it was like, hey, if you are like, okay, people who actually train like in like boxing or kickboxing or jujitsu, if you have like a very technical sound game, like, like what to expect. So when someone comes in and just flail about like wildly, like weird things can kind of like just catch you. Like it shouldn't, but it's because you're trained and you're expecting something that is like by the book. When something is so weird and unorthodox comes at you, like it's like it doesn't even register in your brain like this is like a tactic that someone could use, because it's so stupid and so beginner. Like what would make you like there's no catalog in your brain where that would actually happen. And this is what I feel like this is what happened, because again, it is a kind of knockout you would see on the regional circuit where people don't know what the fuck they're doing and they just like throw something wild as hard as they can. Like it was equally likely that Armin Petrosyan could have just backed away or happened to duck, and Shara Bullet would like thrown himself so off balance that he would have like torn his ACL or thrown his shoulder out of like place. Like that could have easily have happened as well. and
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
what the fuck?
it didn't strike me as, like, any like, in the way that, like, Ilia Topuria set up that left hook where he
Yeah.
baited the hand trap, I'm like, "Dude, he's getting most people in that division with that left hook from the way he set it up." This is like dude, Israel Adesanya is way too defensively sound. Robert Whittaker is way too defensively sound. Khamzat Chimaev, DDP, Sean Strickland, none of these fools are getting caught by this. This is such, like, wild flailing nonsense that no one else of any, like, actual esteem in this division. A shitty division, by the way. A division made up of donkey-brained men, would get caught by this. So, what do you do with Magomedov after this? Do you just keep putting him, against, even worse fighters and, like, let him have highlight KOs, or do you try to, like, rank him up?
I don't know. I mean, it's like he's can only fight in certain places, so
Yeah,
like
that's true. What
I don't know.
about him versus Marvin Vettori? A man with 0 defense, but a really great chin, and who only has a 1-2 and a double leg. Like,
Yeah,
that's a good test, I think. Or
yeah,
Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa versus Magomedov?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, might be worthwhile. A bad knockout, and if you think that's a good knockout, you don't know where you're watching. You're
Do
an
you
idiot.
know? Do you know who Sarah Bullet reminds me of? And
I
this
don't
this
know,
this is gonna
fucking
be an old
Redbeard or I don't know.
Keith Jardine
Kind of.
in that they're just like really
Yeah.
like weird
Ooh,
like technique
good
and
pull.
very yeah, just like
Yeah.
but like happens to catch people and like just because this like very weird, unorthodox and like kind of like strange technique and rhythm that people can't really figure out. And
Yeah.
but like Keith Jardine, I believe eventually people are going to realize there's not much to fear from this and we'll just
Yes.
put a beating on him.
Yeah, they both fight like they're an original 1962 Disney, animatronic that wished to be a real boy and came to life, right? Like, they kind of fight like a rusted automaton.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, stupid shit. Middleweight, man. That's how
Yeah.
it goes. We have Robert Whittaker going in there being like, "My teeth are attached to my jaw. I guess I'll fight." And I'm like, "Rob, I love you, bud, but you gotta have better brains than that." And then
You
this
gotta have teeth and a jaw.
yeah, goddamn. Anyway, so that was the main. I think overall, this is I think a top besides UFC 300. I think this is the best main card of a UFC pay per view we've had all year.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, we had, all of October. It lived
dude,
up to what we thought. Like it was good. It was a
banged.
good,
It was good.
yeah, it was a good month.
Yeah. Let's talk about this undercard. Ibo Aslan, light heavyweight. Dana White coming out afterwards saying like this guy's the next thing at light heavyweight. Uh, did you watch that fight?
I did not. No, give
Uh,
me.
Ibo Aslan, big athletic man who threw donkey brain techniques and knocked a dude out. So who gives a shit? Like it didn't like right like it's again this thing of like people being really enticed, being like, dude, did you see that guy run forward and punch that guy in the face? I'm like, yep. And like whatever. Jeff Neal, Rafael dos Anjos. See that fight?
Well, I heard Javier Dos was like broke his own knee or something. Like,
Yeah, blew out his knee. I think that it might be the end for Rafael dos Anjos. What a kind of inglorious end for him.
yeah.
There was a lot of kind of that happening where people just like exploding their own bodies, or making bad decisions and coming in with no teeth, um, which was a real fucking bummer. Which takes us to the heavyweight fight that I was interested in.
Oh my god, I heard
Chris
about
Barnett,
this too.
Kennedy Nzechukwu. Chris Barnett, look,
Injured
man.
himself.
Yeah, bro, I could tell you firsthand, I have a body like Chris Barnett. When you're our height and our weight, you shouldn't be jumping because the structural integrity of your joints is not very good. Like it's just not good. And so when you jump and you're 5'5" and 300 pounds, you're gonna blow out your leg. Like that's just gonna happen. And that's what happened with Chris Barnett. And I was like, what a bummer. He jumps, he looks down, his leg is blown out, and you can see on his face, he's like, oh, fuck. And then Kennedy Njeku is like, what, 6'8", and just driving knees into my my boy's stomach. And I'm like, this is rude. His leg is hurt. You should be nicer to him. It was a bummer. Bummer of a fight. And then lastly, I'm going to try to pronounce the names correctly.
Okay.
Moktabik. I heard John Anik call him Moktabik or Obai. And then Matej Robeski or Robeshki.
Okay. Oh, wow. We were way off.
Way off. Did you see this fight?
I did not.
This is the highest level. This is the cream of the slot bucket, right? This fight was it the most high level? No. Could these guys be a top 15 at 155? Could they beat Hanato Moicano, Jalen Turner, Patty Pimblett? Probably. They're right on that cusp. But dude, this was a fucking dogfight. Orobai's orbital broke in the first round.
Shit.
Got sliced open, and dude, they were rocking each other back and forth constantly, always throwing, high pace. Like, this was an absolute slobber knocker of a fight, and not in a shitty light heavyweight way, in the awesome lightweight division way. It was an amazing fight. Yeah. It got fight of the night. I don't think it should have beaten fight of the night over Holloway versus Topuria, because that was one of the most highly skilled fights I've ever seen. But these two dudes went in there and were like, I don't care if I die at age 40, I'm gonna win this fight. That's how they fought. It was pretty astounding. Yeah.
Well, I will definitely have to take a look at it then.
Yeah, man. It was a good fight. Yeah, and besides that, I won all the wagers because I'm really good at picking fights, and yeah, we'll have to figure out something from that.
Oh god.
Yeah, it was a sad enough event, I think, seeing Max stretch like that, and then I felt bad for Rob because of his teeth, but I also was like, hey, Rob, you can't be coming into that fight. But I was mostly just disappointed that we didn't get any answers to the Hamzat question,
Yeah. Yep.
And then light heavyweight with Ankalaev, I was like, this is the guy?
We did get answers, and it's, you're not the guy.
Yeah, I was like, all right. But here's the thing, maybe he fights Pereira and comes out and shoots a wicked double leg in the first 3 seconds, and we're like, well, what the fuck is this? We didn't see this before, it's a weird one. Yeah. Anyway, it was a great night of fights, dude. October. Give me your score for October overall.
Out of 10 or what?
I don't know. Just how did you feel about it? It started with Pereira and Roundtree. Now, did we have Juliana Pena and Raquel Pennington in that?
Yeah.
Sure. But
but also remember that whole night was not great either until Pereira Roundtree.
True. But then the following weekend, Royval and Tatsuro Taira. That's not bad at all. We had Bivol and Berbiev, an amazing fight.
Yeah.
Big Fran came back. We had a great fight between Larissa Pacheco and Cyborg. Hernandez absolutely demolished your boy, Michel Pereira. Rob Font back in his winning ways. Topuria and Max, one of the most high-leveled MMA fights we've ever seen. Hamzat Chimaev cementing himself. Share a bullet doing something. But you got to see this Orobai and Robeshki fight. Phenomenal. This is a good month of fights, my man.
It was a very good month of fights. Yeah.
It was worthwhile. And what do we have to look forward to in November, Colin?
What do we have?
Well, we've got Brandon Moreno versus Amir Albazi.
That's this weekend, yeah. And Aaron Blanchfield versus Rose Namajunas is co-main event.
Yeah, it's really weird because I'm looking at that fight card and I'm like, the preliminary card has Ayman Zahabi, Faraz Sahabi's brother versus Pedro
Oh,
Munoz. And I'm like, that's a good fight.
yeah.
Charles Jourdain versus Victor Henry. That's an
Okay.
awesome fight.
Yeah, yeah.
Jack Shore and Yusuf Zalal. Great fight. I'm into that shit. Nobody else gives a shit about this fight, but Jamie Lynn Horth is out of Squamish, about an hour north of me. So I'll be rooting for her.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, that's not bad. We've got Magny versus Prates as the next fight. Oh man, this is a bad fight card. Let's not talk about that one. Oh shit, UFC 309 is John Jones versus Stipe. Oh, that's a bad fight card. Fucking hell. Hey, but then we've got
Hey,
Piotr Yan.
but that fight has Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler.
Yeah, we saw that fight though. We saw that. We know how it's gonna go. And, we also have Chris Weidman. We get to watch Chris Weidman die again.
I poke someone to death, so you know.
That's true. Bo Nickel fighting Paul Craig. So like, ugh. All right. Though I'm excited to see Jim Miller on that card, and
Yeah.
then to finish out that month, Piotr Yan versus Figueiredo.
Yeah.
And don't forget, November also has the blockbuster.
Tyson and Paul fight.
That's exactly right.
Uh,
November is what will be affectionately known as Elderly Abuse Month, where we have the oldest people in this sport coming out to be abused routinely in front of us. So while October was the gourmet 3-star Michelin restaurant of fight sports, where we got to see more than 3. I honestly think Holloway Topuria and Khalil Roundtree and Alex Pereira are the 2 best fights that we've had in MMA this year.
Mhm.
And then Bivol and Beterbiev was one of the 2 best boxing matches we've had this year. We also had Tatsuro Taira and Brandon Royval, an absolute barn burner. Miktabik Oroboy against Matej Rishbeki or Rubeshki, like another amazing fight. So many of our best fights of the year and fighters of the year came out of this month.
Mhm.
And this coming month, we have, I don't want to say dog shit, but not great fights.
Not great. There's a handful of fights that I am interested in seeing.
Yeah, I think we blew our wad on one load on October. It's, I think, what happened.
Hey, it was well worth it though.
Yeah. So November will be a little bit sparse. So here's the thing: I owe you, and now you owe me for a fight card.
Yeah.
So we should come to a middle ground. And I don't know if you saw on this UFC in the Muslim country of Abu Dhabi pay-per-view card, their broadcast, a MMA movie, surprisingly called The Carpenter, I believe.
Oh, I
Which
was seeing ads for that. What the fuck is this?
reimagines Jesus Christ's life as an MMA fighter as he spreads the gospel. So what I'm thinking is,
No fucking way.
I don't know if it's only in theaters, in which case you might be able to find it, but living up in the Great White North, it's hard to find films of such esteem and quality. But I think we both should watch The Carpenter because it looks like the worst movie I've ever seen.
Oh my god. There is no fucking way this is a real movie.
Oh yeah. And like wasn't it funny that like that was like one of the main sponsors in this like Muslim country? They were like, put these ads up. And it's like, why? Yeah, right. A Jesus MMA movie called The Carpenter. Like this looks amazing. So I think
my god.
rather than talking about something important like I don't know, the history of the featherweight division, or as we promised the audience, kind of correcting the record on here, I
GSP.
think we should watch The Carpenter and review it. Because this, yeah, dude, the description: Nazareth, 29 AD, a rage-filled fighter becomes an apprentice to a mysterious carpenter, compelling him to pursue his greatest potential. Bro. We gotta watch this. This
Oh my
looks.
god.
I think that's what we got to do. I think that's it. I think we've nailed it. That's what we're doing.
Okay, on Cinemark, it is an adopted Viking orphan becomes a carpenter's apprentice to Jesus. The orphan, Orin, fights as a side hustle. His experience training as a carpenter with Jesus as his mentor changes his lifestyle. What the fuck?
All right. Here's what we're going to do. Everyone, tune in on Friday. This has been our recap of UFC 308. I'm one fight fan Stuart.
I'm the other Colin.
This is what we're doing on Friday. We are going to be discussing UFC Fight Night in my home country of Canada. We're talking about Edmonton, the shittiest city of all. There's a fight card. We're going to talk about those fights. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. But most importantly, what we're going to do, Colin and I will come up with 5 predictions each of what will happen in the landmark film, The Carpenter. And then we will watch this film and relate to you which one got those predictions right. Fuck the fights. Fuck predicting that shit. We're going to predict what happens in Carpenter. That's what's happening.
Oh my god.
I think that's what it's about, Colin. This is going to be good. Now, here's the thing. I haven't checked if we can actually watch this film. But let's figure that out off the air. Anyway, I'm one of 5 fan Stuart. That's Colin. You know the drill. Join us on Friday. We're going to be talking about UFC Edmonton. It's Moreno. It's Rose Namajunas. It's Amir Albazi. It's Aaron Blanchfield. You know the drill. And The Carpenter. Join us for that. All right, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.